Hi, teacher. Hi, teacher. My group, and me, we are going to present Paralanguage and Paralinguistics. Our group are formed by Anthony Vaicha, Naio Campo, Catherine Wachisaka, Karina Romero, and my person, Yulei Arias. Well, so we are going to present Paralanguage and Paralinguistics. The first is we have to know what is the definition of paralanguage. Paralanguage includes all the nonverbal vocal elements that accompany the speech. It refers to how we speak, not just the words that we choose, but paralanguage can completely change the meaning of the message. For example, a simple sentence like I'm okay can sound happy, angry, sarcastic, or sad depending on the tone, pitch, or speed that we use. This field This field, as a paralinguistics, studied the vocal features and their impact on the communication. It examines how speakers use the tone, the volume, the pitch, the pauses, and the intonation to express attitudes and emotions. Also, it looks at how listeners interpret the signals, often without even contacting it. Paralinguistics help us to understand why misunderstandings can occur even when the words seem clear. These paralinguistics have some elements. There is an important element we have first, the tone, that it reflects the emotional quality of the voice. Also, we have the volume that tell us how strong the emotion is. The pitch refers how high or low the voice sounds. The rhythm gives the speech its flow and pattern. Also, we have the pauses that help to create emphasis or show hesitation. Also, the speed that show whether someone is calm, stressed, or excited. And finally, we have the intonation that rise and fall is the rise and fall of the voice that help to express attitudes and emphasis. Well, one example is when someone says, I said, I'm fine," loudly. We know that they are upset. A long pause before answering a question may not uncertainty. A raising intonation at the end of the sentence can indicate question or surprise, or speaking very fast can show enthusiasm or nervousness, while speaking slowly that may can show seriousness or confusion. Why paralanguage is important? It is important because it clarifies the meaning and adds emotional depth to communication. It helps to understand not just what people say, but what they really mean. It also plays a role in the cross-cultural interaction. Uh, Different cultures use the volume, pauses, and intonation in different ways. So, understanding this field we can use as a uh, it can help us to avoid misunderstanding, and with it we can communicate respectfully. Next, my partner going to explain more.
Nonverbal communication. The definition of this nonverbal communication is the way we send messages without using words. It includes our body movements or facial expressions, gestures, eye contact, and voice tone, and the personal space. These signals help people understand what we fear or mean in different contexts. Okay, the main functions of the nonverbal communication, there are four functions. The first is replacing. Sometimes we use action instead of words. For example, nodding your head to say yes. For example, the second is accompanying. The nonverbal signals go together with words to show meaning. For example, smiling while greeting someone. The third function is contradicting. The nonverbal signals can show the opposite of what we say. For example, saying I'm fine, but look inside. In the last function of the nonverbal communication is regulating terms. The nonverbal cues help people know when to speak or stop talking. For example, eye contact or raising a hand to show you want to talk. Um, the key nonverbal elements. For example, in the facial expressions, when you smile, frown, or raises eyebrows. In the gestures, waving, pointing, or thumbs up. In the posture of the body, standing straight, slouching. In the eye contact, looking at someone while speaking. This is this is look for you are interesting about a whatever topic when the you say or talk with another person. The proxemics, in this case, this is the personal space, how close you stand to others. The tone of voice, that can be loud, soft, excited, or angry. They demonstrate the feelings of the persons to the other persons. The appearance, clothing and grooming. And finally, touch. You can handshake or pat on the back. Examples for the everyday or the daily life. A teacher raising their hand to ask for silence. Another is friends hugging to show happiness. People using thumbs up to say good job. And moving away when someone stays too close. Maybe this example is to express when you don't feel comfortable and with another person. And finally, the final example is rolling eyes to show annoyance. The importance for multicultural or cross-cultural communication. The non-verbal communication is very important when people from different cultures interact with another people. Different cultures have different rules, some misunderstandings can happen. This is most common when you go to another country that you don't know the language in this country. It is very important to know these rules that you don't have misunderstandings. Some cultures use more eye contact, others use less. Anyway, the personal space can be big or small depending on the culture. And the histories may have different meanings in different countries. Very careful to do whatever history in another country. And understanding nonverbal signals helps you avoid confusion and communicate respectfully. This is all a teacher for me. The next is my partner.
Okay, to continue the explanation, I'm going to define what is proxemics and the purpose of this. So, proxemics is the study of how people use and perceive physical space in communication. This term was introduced by Edward T. Hall in 1966. It explores how the distance affects the social interaction and maybe the relationships that we have, the cultural norms, all of these can be affected. So, for that reason, the purpose of studying prosemics is to understand the nonverbal communication to prevent misunderstandings and improve interpersonal and cross cultural interactions. So, here we have the types of distance. Um, as I mentioned before, a Hall identified um, four essential and primary um, zones for personal space. So the first one is intimate distance, which range from 0 to 19 um, inches or 0 to 45 centimeters. This space is for close relationships like patterns, family, friends, close friends, where touching is a normal conversations and something private. Then we have personal distance from about 1.5 to 4 feet or 45 centimeters to 1.2 meters. This is the space that we use for friends or acquaintances, and also it allows conversation while keeping a comfortable personal boundary. Next, we have social distance, which is um, 4 to 12 feet or 1.2 to 3.6 meters. This distance is common in professional or formal interactions, such as coworkers or in a business meeting. Then, public distance, it allows 12 feet or more, is used when speaking to a large group or in a public spaces. At this distance, formal communication dominates and nonverbal cues are limited. Okay, each distance has a purpose and intimate for trust, personal for friends, social for work, and public for larger distance. So it's important to know about it to maintain the respect for every person. So, cultural difference and personal space. Here in Latin American or in Arab cultures, often prefer closer distance in conversations. Northern European or Northern American cultures tend to maintain larger personal spaces. For that reason, misunderstandings may arise when people from different cultures interpret the proximity differently, leading to discomfort or perceive something rudeness. So to put more in context, I I searched for some examples, real examples of cross-cultural misunderstandings. So, for example, a Brazilian manager may stand very close during a meeting, which could make a Swedish college feel uncomfortable, or an American might step back while talking for someone from the Middle East, which could be interpreted as a cold or something unfriendly. In crowded Japanese trains, people tolerate very little personal space, which might stress for a Westerners tourist. Or a teacher for a culture that values closeness. For example, in Latin America, we value the closeness, and may stand near for students while giving instructions. And students from cultures that prefer distance um, may feel uncomfortable or distracted if the teacher intention is friendly. Okay. And in Arab or Mediterranean cultures, greetings often include kisses or the cheek and close proximity. But in the East Asian or Northern European cultures, people might prefer bows or handshakes with more distance, which can cause misinterpretations. These examples show that space is perceived differently across cultures and can lead to misunderstandings, not recognized, or maybe something some people can feel uncomfortable, and it's important to notice that to prevent those things.
I'm going to talk about the two important aspects of nonverbal communication, that is, kinesics and eye contact.
Well, first of all, what is kinesics? It refers to the study of body movement. This includes our gestures, our postures, facial expressions, and the way we move while communicating. Even when we don't speak, our body is still sending messages. Okay. Kinesics includes different types of movements. In this case, we have five. The first one is about emblems. These it refers to gestures with a specific meaning. For example, the dumb bumps. Seeing means okay in many countries or cultures, but in countries like Turkey or Brazil, it can be considered offensive. The second one is Illustrator. Okay, it refers to gestures that accompany or speech. For example, using our hands to show our size or direction. And we have regulators. It refers to the movements that help control a conversation, such as nodding to encourage the other person to continue. The fourth is about adapters. It refers to gestures we use when we feel nervous, like tapping our foot or playing with our hair. Another one is affect displays. It refers to gestures that show emotions like smiling or raising or eyebrows. Eyebrows. Well, a key point is that gestures don't mean the same thing in all countries. Yeah, it's an important thing. Here are some examples. The first one is the okay in hand. Seeing is positive in the US, but offensive in Brazil. Another one is nodding, mean yes in many countries or cultures, but in Bulgaria or Greece, it actually means no. Another one is pointing with one finger is normal in the US, but considered rude in many Asian cultures. And well, these differences show how our body language can easily cause misunderstandings around the world. Okay, now we have the eye contact. So, eye contact refers to how much we look into someone's eyes while communicating. So, it expresses attention, respect, and confidence, or even power. Well, eye contact also varies a lot across cultures. In the US and many European countries, maintaining eye contact is a sign of confidence and honestly. In East Asian cultures, too much eye contact may seem disrespectful or aggressive. For example, Japanese students look down when a teacher speaks. It means a sign of respect. And in Middle East cultures, many use strong eye contact with other men, but limited eye contact with women due to social norms. Let me show some real and concrete examples. The example number one is about classroom interaction. So, a US teacher expects the students to look at her while speaking. But in Japanese, a Japanese student avoid eye contact out of respect. So, this can be misunderstanding as a lack of attention. The example number two is about business meeting. Well, a German manager uses strong eye contact to show professionalism. But an Ecuadorian employee may look away to be polite. So it means that the manager interprets this as irrespectful or insecurity. Well, understanding kinesics and eye contact is essential because they help us to avoid misunderstandings. They allow us to interpret emotions more accurately and show respect accordingly to culture's norms and communicate more effectively with people from different cultures around the world. And well, to sum up, kinesics and eye contact are powerful nonverbal tools, but their meaning depends heavily on cultures. So, being aware of these differences help us communicate more clearly and respectfully.
Well, I'm going to talk about kinesthetics and their importance for the cross-cultural communication. But first, the definition of the kinesthetics. The kinesthetics refers to the touch and physical contact, the body movement, gestures, posture, and physical proximity, and how people use their bodies to communicate emotions, attitudes, and intentions. Eh, well, the kinesthetics is in a major part of non-verbal communication and influencing how comfortable, friendly, respectful, or distant the interactions feel. The next is high contact versus low contact cultures. First, the high contact cultures. People are comfortable with close physical distance and frequent touch. The common behaviors are hugging as greeting, touching the arm while speaking, standing close, or two cheek kisses. For example, the Latin American cultures as Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, etc. And in the first image, we have a Mexican family. The next is a Mediterranean cultures, the Italy, Spain, and Greece. And here we have a family from Middle Eastern culture. The next is low contact cultures. These cultures prefer more personal space and limit touch to formal situations. And the common behaviors are handshakes instead of hugs, avoid touching strangers, and keep more physical distance while talking. For example, Japan and South Korea, the China. Here we have an image from a final family portrait from China, and also another examples are Northern Europe like Germany, Sweden, and Norway, and also the North America, as I you say, Canada and Canada, but these countries, the from North America, have a moderate low contact culture. Yeah, here we have examples of greetings and touch behaviors. First, in Latin America. In Latin America, is usual has a greeting with a hug or with kiss on the cheek. The physical closeness is during the conversation. In the Middle East, the men usually greeting with the hand, but there are a proximity between them me in the greeting. Also, the Japan culture, their bow instead of handshake, touching as minimal as possible in the public settings. And the France or Spain, here they have two check kisses and are common in the greeting. Also, standing close is normal for them. Then we have United States. Usual to has handshakes and occasional hugs between the friends, but the handshake is very common in the business context. And finally, here we have Korea. In Korea is as Japan or another Asian countries, but in Korea there are a difference um, because um, this position differs from the age. Is different from the kids, from the adolescents or teens, young people, and with older people. Yeah. Here we have why nonverbal communication is essential in the cross-cultural context. First, because it creates the first impressions. Before someone speaks, others interpret first the facial expressions, the posture, the touch distance. Um, this can cause confusion or discomfort. Also, it expresses emotions more accurately than the words. In multicultural settings, people may not always understand the language perfectly, but body language communicates the friendliness, respect, openness, or authority. Also, it prevents the misunderstandings. Knowing how different cultures interpret proximity, the eye contact, or gestures helps avoid offending others, misreading intentions, and appearing rude or aggressive. Also, it improves the intercultural relationships, the sensitivity around the others, the nonverbal styles builds trust, warmth, or cooperation. Yeah. Here we have the concrete examples of cultural misunderstanding. First, the Latin American AUG versus Japanese personal space. A Latin American student greets a Japanese visitor with AUG. First, Latin American perspective, friendly and polite, but Japanese perspective, uncomfortable or invasive. Here we have in the image the the face of the of this young woman is very uncomfortable. And the next is the eye contact interpretation. In the US, eye contact is confidence and honesty. For example, in the image, in the business context, here they have the eye contact to to has more confidence. In many Asian cultures, too much eye contact is equal to rude or confrontational. And finally, here we have the hand holding between men in the Middle East, because in a Middle Eastern, man holds the hand of a male American colleague while walking. For the Middle East, is close represents a close friendship, but for someone that US represents confusion or discomfort because uh, this is only normal in Middle East, but not in another countries. Here we have an image um, that shows this, um, because the U.S. gentlemen are confused and uncomfortable. And that's all. Thank you.